Okay, ladies and gents, welcome back to another Mastery Gaming production. And of course, today's episode is not only a season review, it's also a transfer special. And unlike some other channels, we're also going to do the first game of the season. Because personally, I don't believe in giving you guys just a roundup of the game. You should get at least one game in an episode. So without further ado, let's get into our messages. And first of all, we have record high for Hull. So Hull's final league position of 6th in the Premier League represents a new record high. The previous best in the Premier League was 7th place. Now, as you may remember, that was last season, of course. I recorded that league position. We then have this message of Palacios, a little bit of talking about his form in that final game of the season. So, player inducted into the Hull overall best 11. So we have Butland in goal. That seems very reasonable to me. Kingsley at left back. Now, we've had a few issues at sorting a regular left back, but I wouldn't say Kingsley is the best solution at left back. Reinwald, I'll pretty much say our current lineup, there isn't any real weaknesses that I would swap out for previous players. So I would change that one. We then have Burke and De Weiss. Now, both a couple of veterans that have been around a while. They have been very consistent players for us. But again, I believe Pavlovic is much better and Katic is also much better. So I would have had both of those starting instead. Vigore at right back, that seems appropriate to me. Could argue that Kiko maybe could take that spot, but Vigore I would say definitely on the right hand side. We then have Garner alongside Palacios. Now, again, Dragomir, although he's had a few little niggly injury issues, definitely better than Garner. So I would put him in there. We then have Mahi on the left-hand side. Now, Bowen's played on both sides. So it's very a case of who plays alongside Bowen on the wing. And you could argue Mahi has been the best one out there. Diabate was a bit hit and miss last season. And of course, he's only alone. We then have Shabani. Now, Shabani, he was a solid player for us, but to me, Gaetano. Gaetano is a much better player in central attacking mid. And then, of course, Brewster up front. Now, there's no arguing with that. If we quickly have a look at Ryan Brewster, we'll just click on the picture because I can't find his name in the list that quickly. So we'll go to history. So, he's been with us for 3 seasons now. I doubt we'll get him back another season, but fingers crossed, who knows. So first season, 42 appearances, 16 goals, 5 assists, and 6 player of the matches, 7.08. Then a 34 games, 23, 4, 6, and 7.31. 36, 42, 2, 10, 7.77, 7.76. Lot of 7s. Basically averaging over a 7 rating. Solid goal scoring, and of course if we look at all competitions this year, scored 49, just missed out on that 50. Year before 28, and the year before that 19. So very good player, and again, don't see us getting him back, but we've got a few messages to get through, so let's carry on. So the awards. The fan player of the season, of course, goes to Ryan Brewster, 71% of the vote, followed by Palacios with 17 and Gaetano with 8%. That seemed pretty reasonable to me. Jared Bowen didn't have the greatest of seasons by his standards. Dragomir, I would have said, might have had a good chance of getting into that second, third place fight. Obviously, no one was touching Brewster at the top. And yes, goal of the season was Palacios. He was also the signing of the season, 5.39 from River Plate. Not a bad little signing. And young player of the season, of course, is Ryan Brewster. But let's have a little look at this Palacios goal against Dillagoria. I'm not sure what this goal is. We should have had it in an episode, I believe, but who knows. So, played out. Oh, yes, it was this one. It's where he just hits it on the volley. Can't argue with that one. Just smashes it into the top corner and gets us the victory against Dillagoria. So, the full season review. We finished 6th in the league, lost in the 6th round against Arsenal in the FA Cup. Can't really be too disappointed in that. Second knockout round against Dynamo. Again, can't be that disappointed in that result. Now, losing in the third round to Newcastle in the Carabao Cup. Losing to Newcastle, a little disappointing, but the fact that I believe we had our second team out for that game, I can't be too disheartened by that result. Match of the season, of course, was a 5-0 victory against Aston Villa. And the moment to forget, the 5-2 against Wolves. Yeah, that didn't happen. We will completely forget about that one. Average attendance, now, we've been crushing it. 97%. 24,983 fans. Total players used, 26th. Joint 8th highest in the Premier League. Now, considering the restrictions of Europe, that's kind of impressive that I managed to go through 26 players. In my opinion. My humble opinion. Club vision and expectations. So they want us to develop youth players. They want entertaining football, high-tempo football, make the most of set pieces, work within the wage budget. So end of season, we want to be a mid-table team and then become a top half team the year after. That seems reasonable to me. I'm going to just accept that. The board is not getting too crazy. So, team leaders, yada yada yada. We don't really need to look through that one. Here is our injuries for the season, if anyone is curious to exactly how many injuries and how long certain players were out. In fact, let's see who was the most injured. Huban Navarro were the most injured. Now that's kind of worrying considering we've just brought Navarro in. We then have the likes of Pavlovic and Bowen. So hopefully them two can have a bigger role in next season. So squad end of season break. They shall be returning on the 13th of June. Now the real important question is, where shall we go for our training camp? So we've been to Singapore. I believe it was Switzerland the year before that. So we're not going to Singapore. Hong Kong, China give me Singapore vibes. Holland maybe. Scotland, we've been travelling in Scotland and it's not really exotic enough for us. South Africa seems like a good one. Austria, Germany, America. Now, America could be interesting depending where we go. But I want to go to South Africa. Let's head to South Africa. Maybe we'll go on a safari. But it is time to get through the rest of these. So, Brewster claims Footballer of the Year. Not a big surprise. Again, there's his stats. Brewster wins Players Player of the Year. Brewster scoops top goal scorer award. He beat out Martinezzi, was quite a bit ahead. 42 to 25. In fact, them two combined wouldn't have had that many more. 42 compared to their combined 50. That's scary. Now, if Liverpool do not want to put him in their team for next year, I don't know what's wrong with them. But Young Player of the Year, and he's of course going to be in the Team of the Year, which is basically the Liverpool team with a few people scattered in there. But without further ado, I'm going to get a few players through the doors, and I'll catch up with you guys in just a second. Okay everyone, so we're back for our initial budgets. I completely forgot about this, don't know how I managed that. But we have got our budgets, so let's have a look at them so I can actually sign those players I was planning to get in before the next segment. So board, of course, was delighted with the adjusted top half finish. We did that 2 years ahead of schedule. So very happy with that. They're rubbishing any potential consortium takeover suggestions. And we have 1.1 million for our wage budget this year and 36.32 million to spend. Nice little bit of spending money for us this year. The board request meeting to discuss club improvements. Interesting. So we should hold a meeting regarding improving our youth level. I am more than happy to see that. I think it's a great idea. I look forward to the benefit it will bring the club. I'm glad you want to make improvements to the club. In fact, let's just have a... Where are we? No, we don't want... Is it under division? Yes. Are we... Okay, so we're currently doing that youth one, which they've just suggested. Can I make any additional suggestions? No, we don't need anything personalised. Facilities. Improved data... improved training... You know what? Will you improve our training facilities? Yeah. It has not gone unnoted that we're currently on our best run of form. Delighted to grant the request. Thank you very much, board. So we're going to improve the training facilities as well. That is nice indeed. But like I said, I'm going to finally get on with some transfer business. I'll meet you guys probably when we get to South Africa, and I'll give you a little bit of a catch up when we arrive there. So I'll see you guys in a second. So we're not quite in South Africa quite yet, but we are of course back for one of the transfers, and this is Scott Banks. Now, as you might have noticed, we did get this guy in on a free transfer later last season. Of course, he's finally come in on his transfer, and he's a little disappointing on the assistant rating. So as you can see, 2-star current ability, potential 2, maybe 3. He's not great, so he's probably going to go back out on loan. He is of course a free transfer from Dundee United, where he's spent his entire career. Now, as you can see, his average rating in this Scottish second division hasn't been too bad, but not really a Premier League player. But at 20 years of age, hopefully on a free transfer we can loan him out and make a bit of a profit. So not the ideal solution. That does mean one other player is needed in his position, because I was hoping he'd be a good useful backup, but unfortunately he's not. And a little bit more bad news, as you can see, we do have an asking price of 53 million currently on Jared Bowen in order to pry him away, which is a bit weird because I'm pretty sure we agreed with Jared that we would let him go for less than that. What was the amount we agreed with you, Jared? Can tell you what, it tells us on the squad screen. Should definitely tell us on the squad screen, that is for sure. Ah, there we go. So promised to sell for 36.5. So if we get 36.5, we've got to let him go. So that 53 really doesn't matter. So 36.5 is what we want, and West Ham, we are not going to take anything less than 36.5. That is what we agreed with Jared. And you know what? Give us 50% profit from your next sale. And we want 36.5. Suggest terms. Okay. West Ham's willing to give us 36.5 for Jared Bowen. And apparently we're going to get the 50% sell-on fee. So it looks like we're going to have to look for a winger on each side. This could get interesting, folks. Perhaps I might even change formation based on this knowledge. But I will be doing a little bit more of the transfer business. As you can see, we have still not got our fixtures through, and I will see you fine, folks, either there or when we arrive in South Africa. For some reason, I nearly said Southampton. I'll see you there in a second. Okay, everyone, a little bit of sad news. As you can see, Jared Bowen seems to be leaving for West Ham. And on top of that, we have Serbia joining the European Union. We have Montenegro joining the European Union, and also Albania is joining the European Union. So this change will allow all those countries' players more freedom in moving to other clubs in the group, and will open up to foreign rules from clubs in them particular countries. So Bowen is set to sign for West Ham, as you saw earlier, for 6.5. We will get a 50% sell on for his next sale, so I guess that's okay. It will be of the profit, sadly, but I guess if that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do. So let's make parting words with Jared. You said you wanted a word. Yes, you're an a-hole and you should have stuck around. No. You've been a fantastic servant to the club. You're welcome back anytime. Thank you. Who knows what the future may hold? And I don't know why he really was desperate to make this move. So as you can see, West Ham did finish 4th last season, but 8th, 10th, 13th, like, they're on a similar trajectory to us, but I'd say we've arguably had a better trajectory than them. So, yeah, not quite sure about that one. That does mean we have to take him out of there. So that is our current team so far for next season. As you can see on the right-hand side of it, I've also got the backups for each position lined up. I do have a few players missing from that list. So out of the roster, I do have the additional players of Greaves, Fleming and Lewis Potter. Those 3 will be covering our homegrown that's needed for Europe. So they won't be making up the 22-man first team and backup 11, but they will be making up part of the overall roster for the 25-man squad, I believe it is. So they are to be taken into account as well. But I'm going to try and fill this hole that Jared Bowen has just left. So I'll see you fine folks in just a second. Okay everyone, so as you can see, we finally made it to our training camp here in the southwest of South Africa, the beautiful port of Cape Town. So this is my hotel room. The lovely view out of my window, of course, is the mountains here in Cape Town. And unfortunately, we did lose Jared Bowen, but we have managed to find a suitable replacement. We've also managed to find another player for the other wing, and a guy who can go up front just in case we can't get Brewster back. So without further ado, let's go have a look at those transfers. Okay, first of all, ladies and gents, let's get into our replacement for Jared Bowen. And that, of course, is Luca Moura. He is 3.5 star potential. Very similar to Jared Bowen in that sense. I don't believe Jared Bowen had any more potential. He definitely had the same current ability. So, those of you who don't know Luca Moura, he's 29 years old now, 36 caps, 4 goals, 9 under 20 caps, 4 under 20 goals. He is a right winger and he's been playing at Tottenham for quite a while, being there for the past 5 seasons after signing from Paris Saint-Germain for 25 million, who themselves signed him for 32.5 million when he was back in Brazil. So, very accomplished player, as you can see. Last season, got a 7.1 rating in 14 games, 4 goals, 3 assists and 2 player of the matches. But for some reason, Tottenham felt the need to put him on the transfer list, which meant we could get him for a nice little bit of cash at 12,750,000. We then have an addition for the opposite side, and that is Ahmed Musa from Chelsea. Also transfer listed, got him in at 10 million and is now valued at 22. 3-star current, 3-star potential. Again, another player we wanted to be able to slot straight into the team right now. 105 caps, 25 goals in those caps, 4 under 20 caps and 2 under 20 goals. He's going to be playing as an inside forward for us. Can play up front if we need him to, but very unlikely he will be going up there, especially if we get Ryan Brewster back. But like I said, I don't see that really happening. So he was at Chelsea last season. They bought him for 4.5 million. He was at Al Nassr for the 3 seasons before that. They bought him for 14.75 from CSKA Moscow. Oh, sorry, from Leicester. He was on loan for a year at CSKA Moscow. Leicester didn't really use him. Before that, he was at Moscow for a long time. Undisclosed fee bought from Venlo. Venlo bought him from Pillars. And yeah, solid little Nigerian winger. We then have Jonathan David. Now, he's from AA Ghent, as you can see. Bought him for 22 million. He's a very interesting player. So, as you can see, he's Canadian. And being Canadian, he's now set a new record. The original record for a Canadian player was 9 million for someone who went to Bayern Munich, I want to say. He's now broke that with this transfer. 22 years old, 36 caps and 21 goals in that time. He's valued at 26 million, so we already made a nice little profit on that. 3-star current ability, 4-star potential. Nice rounded stats. He can play anywhere across attacking mid, but we are going to play him up front, providing, again, that we can't get Brewster in. I'm preparing for the worst, hoping for the best. So, as you can see, spent his whole career at Ghent. Last season, 11 goals in 27 appearances, 3 assists, 1 player of the match, and a 7.04. Season before, 22, 12, 3, 5, 7.29. And then the season before, not so good. 25 games, 1 goal, 1 assist, and a 6.65. Really struggled that season, but then again, the one before, 33 appearances and 12 goals. So, roughly speaking, very consistent player, does well, and he will be a nice addition to the squad. So that means our team as such will be Butland in goal, Guimaraes on the left. It's either going to be him or Reinwald. I'm very much debating which one to go with, because Guimaraes is more of a natural left back. Yes, his current ability isn't quite there, but he has the potential, and if we let his potential grow, then he's going to be better than Reinwald in the end. We then have Katic and Pavlovic in central defence, Vigore, of course, on the right, Dragomir and Palacios in central midfield, Gaetano in front of them, Musa on the left, Mora on the right, and David up front. Our backups haven't really changed. We do have Lewis Potter coming in as a winger. That's because the only downside of bringing them three in place of Bowen is we now have a bit of an issue when it comes to homegrown talent. So we've had to push Lewis Potter as one of our backups. So there is that little bit of a weakness in terms of replacement wingers. We're going to have one of them being a homegrown. And yeah, he's not the greatest. 2-star, 2 maybe 3-star potential. But we can work with that. After all, we do have Kiko Firmina, and he's been solid for us, and he's 2-star. So that works for us. But I am going to try to progress a little bit. Hopefully I will see you in the first game of the season. If not, we'll be stopping by for some more news. I'll see you in just a second. Okay, ladies and gents, so as you can see, it is deadline day, and we have quite a bit of transfer news to go through. So, as you can see, we've made a few acquisitions and got rid of quite a bit of deadwood. So first of all, let's have a look at our deadwood. We have Huban. He went to Rotherham. He was a nice little fringe player, but he's fell out of favour this past season. We then have Akima. Now, Akima, we did bring in last season, tried to strengthen, signed him for 2 million from Barcelona's B team, but he did just end up out on loan at Zaragoza. So he's gone for 1.5, made a bit of a loss on him, but not too much worry. Very much getting him off the wage bill. We then have Mussolini, as I like to call him. We got him on a free transfer. He went out on loan again, had a decent loan spell. Went to Portsmouth for 375,000, bringing us in a little bit of cash. We then have Kobold. Now, Kobold used to be a good player for us back in the day when we acquired him. Played 13 games, had a nice solid season. We then loaned him out last year because he was very surplus to requirements. And we made a hefty profit. So signed for 1.6, sold for 4.4. We then have Moha. He goes to QPR, currently valued at 2.3 million. Now, we signed him for 900, sold him for 900. Nice couple of seasons out of him, and he was very much a utility player. No real reason to keep him around. So, we then get on to Messenhola. Messenhola, our third choice goalkeeper. Again, we don't really need him. He was good at the time as a backup, keepers in the league. Got him in for a free transfer, and we made 875 grand 2 seasons later, so I can't really argue with that one. We then have Below. Now, Below's been at the club for quite a while. Of course, he started with us in terms of the game, so he was here. Hull City got him on a free transfer originally. We used him for 2 seasons, got a nice 40-game season out of him there. Before, of course, he was our backup in that second season, or our first in the Premier League, and we got a nice bit of cash in terms of 5.5 million. We then have another one going to Portsmouth, and that is Hinds. Now, Hinds, as you know, brought him in on a free transfer last season, went out on loan to Oxford in League One. I would argue he's not really a League One player at 6.76 average rating. I'm not quite sure why Portsmouth in the Championship want him, but I'll take 375 grand for a guy who we was never going to use. We then have Al-Zabi. Now, Al-Zabi, a guy who we brought in, thought he'd be a nice little backup. He didn't really do a whole lot though, did he? He had 9 whole games, or as we can see here, 13 substitute appearances and 5 overall starts with 1 goal. Not the greatest scoring record, but we got 6.75 as you can see as a minimum, potentially with the add-ons going up to 8.5 million. Now, I think most of those add-ons will be paid because I believe a lot of it is down to overtime, so they will be paying us overtime. We then have Ahmed Salam. He went out on loan to Grimsby. That wasn't me, that was my director of football. We then have Reinwald. Now, as you know, Reinwald been playing at left back for us a lot. I didn't have any real issue with Reinwald particularly, but because he was playing out of position, teams wanted him. I would rather bring in a proper left back. I decided to get rid of him, brought him in for 9.25 and made a nice little profit. We've got 15 million straight up from Bournemouth, only 1 year after acquiring him. We then have De Silva Lopez. He goes to Montreal. He is going for the grand total of 750 grand. Hull City in real life got him for 500,000, so made a little bit of profit on him. We then have Ellis. Again, another free transfer. We acquired just the 2 seasons back. He played 4 games last year and we got him out for 900 grand to Reading. We then have Slicker. Now, Slicker sat in our youth system, doesn't really have much prospect going forward, hasn't played any games, and 300 odd grand, and I believe I put a 50% sell on that one. So if Bristol City do get a decent amount of money, we'll even get half of that. So let's get on to our acquisitions, shall we? So replacing Reinwald, we have the one and only Selic. He comes in from Borussia Dortmund. 3.5-star current, 3.5-star potential. Very much a player ready to start. As you can see, he's primarily a right-handed side player, but we are going to be using him on the left. 25 years old, 31 caps for Turkey, 2 goals in those appearances, 9 under 21 games, and 0 goals in them. Very nice rounded starts. His history is very much a mixture. So he started off in Turkey at Bursaspor, went out on loan, stayed in Turkey for a little bit, went to France where he was acquired for 2.2 million, had 3 seasons there. He didn't really show much until his 2nd season. His 3rd season, questionable. He then went to Borussia Dortmund, had 7 games in his 1st season and then 22. As you can see, 7.14. He didn't do too bad when he was at Dortmund, but they did make a bit of a loss on him. So we acquired him on the cheap. He is in fact valued at 18.75 right now. So a nice bit of business on Selic. We then have Di Lorenzo. Now he will be coming in for Vigore on that right hand side, valued now at 24.5 million. The 28-year-old Italian with 3 under 21 caps but no Italian caps, which really blew my mind when I looked at his stats of being 3.5-star, 3.5-star potential. I was kind of confused why an Italian would not have a start for his national side. But yes, very overlooked player. He comes from Napoli, 11.25 million. He played 9 games, had 1 goal last season, 7.14 average rating. Season before he had a 7 average rating and a 6.85 the year before. So he's been a very good player for the past few seasons and hopefully will be a nice addition on that right hand side. Worst case, we just bring Vigore off the bench and swap them around. He can be the backup for Vigore if need be. We then have Taiwo Awoniyi from Liverpool, 4.7 million. Now, I'm going to change this guy's name because I'm going to struggle with Awoniyi a lot. So I'm going to simplify it. You are simply going to be No. We want your full name. Ah, Jesus. Right. Taiwo I won. Yeet. Thank you. So much easier to say. Taiwo I won yeet. So, that is his name, of course. He is a 24-year-old Nigerian. He's got 9 under-20 caps, 7 goals in those 9 appearances. So, not a bad little goal scorer for their under-20s. Unfortunately, not made it into the national side quite yet. Valued at 8.25. As you can see, I've got him on 22.5 grand, and he's a fringe player. Currently, 2.5 star potential, 2.5 star current, 3 star potential. He's a decent, solid backup. Don't really expect him to be getting into the first team, but I wanted a nice, solid player who can sit behind David. He is, of course, hopefully going to be a little bit better than our previous man of Alzabi. Alzabi was not the greatest backup. So he's got very low standards to work to. So hopefully he can reach those. But then, of course, have the free transfer and the other previous transfers. So that means we spent in total a 73 million and sold 74. So we even made a little bit of profit in the transfer market this year. So that means our finances, although a little crazy, we have 425 grand of profit right now, 6.4 million, and currently 100 grand left in the wage bill. And additionally to all of that, we have a little bit more cash coming in because Kiko is currently in the midst of talks to leave for Valladolid. I was actually going to bring in a centre-back in place of him and then loan out another player. I believe I was going to loan out Sutar. Sutar was going to go out on loan. I found a nice replacement at centre-back who would have slotted straight into the first team instead of Katic, and Katic would have dropped to the bench. But unfortunately, we didn't quite have the cash at the time. We needed the cash from this Firmino deal. So, without further ado, let's go to our first game of the season. And that looks like we are going to be heading to Bournemouth. So I will see you fine folks in Bournemouth in just a second. Back everyone, and welcome to Escape to the Country. No, we're actually here outside of Bournemouth's ground. So as we head past these lovely homes for sale, or in this case, sold, we shall just head down here. So we are at the Vitality Stadium. So we head down this side road, and here is the car park. So head on in, no public access beyond this point, okay? We shall head into the car park then. And we shall go down here to the end where it is much quieter. And pull in over here. And we appear to have made all the lines disappear. We have travelled through time, folks. We have travelled through time. So before the ground gets any worse, we shall stay here, and I will see you fine folks inside the stadium. Right folks, it is the first game of the Premier League season, and it is time for our new boys to kick it off. So our lineup for today's game here at Bournemouth is Butland in goal. We have Selic at left back. Katic and Pavlovic remain in central defence. We have Lorenzo going on the right hand side of defence. Dragomir and Palacios, of course, in central midfield. Musa on the left hand side. Mora on the right hand side, and Gaetano in central attacking mid. Now, we're all a little bit disappointed that Brewster won't be here this year. I did actually try to loan him from Liverpool, but they told me he's a part of the first team commitments. So we have David up front for us today. Our bench consists of Pereira, Burke, Guimarães, Navarro, Pearson, Aguirre, and of course, I won yeet. Yes, that is going to be a very cringy one for me to say over and over again, but I won yeet. Carlos says we should tell them to do it for the fans. Again, Carlos is going a bit crazy. Start of the year, he's lost the plot. So, Carlos, I'm going to not tell him to do it for the fans, even though we do have probably a decent travelling support. We owe Bournemouth after what happened last match. Go out and get revenge. That's a much better team speak, in my opinion. But Lewis Russell of 442 Publication, the enthusiastic fellow who we have a great respect for, says, is Giovanni Di Lorenzo fit enough to last the full duration of the match? Well, he's not quite the sharpest of fellows, but we do have people to replace him if need be. But I'm going to say I've been told he's fit enough to play and he seems alright, so I'm pretty confident. I'm not as confident as I'm telling the media. But you can't tell the media everything. So, let's get into this match. And we are 12, 13, 14, quarter of an hour in. And we don't have a whole lot. Rhinewell dispossessed. This is why we sold him to you. David on the attack. This is, of course, even my first time seeing David play. Because we did have some preseason... Oh, that was interesting. We did have some preseason friendlies, but I gave them to our assistant. Plus, there was also against very small teams. So we played Bridlington, Hall Road, I want to say Barton, and Scarborough, I want to say is the fourth one. My usual go-to for local little clubs. Of course, also a fan of Scarborough. I like to put them in the rotation. And it's always fun just beating up on Bridlington. So, demand more. I'm going to demand a bit more, lads. I expect you to do better. And you've taken it the correct manner. I appreciate that. But Cook to Alvaro. Alvaro, oh, they've got it in. It is wide by Bournemouth, though. And it looks like we're going in half-time, 0-0. Now, I'm kind of happy with that, I suppose. But... we could do better. Dragomir, nice ball in. David, nice goal. Unfortunately, looks like it's going to be offside. According to VAR, yes, it is. So let's see how close this one is by David. Apparently, it's quite close. Unfortunately, the camera angle doesn't quite show us. Now, does it? But it is Bournemouth 0, Hull City 0. They've had 5 on target. They've had 5 shots. We've had 1. 2 on target. We've apparently had none. Of course, disallowed goals don't count as being on target. 1 foul to 5 fouls. 0 yellow cards to our 2. 54% possession to our 46. Their best performer has been Luis Felipe with a 6.9. Our best performer has been Pavlovic, also with a 6.9. Struggling to perform is Montiel with a 6.5 and Gaetano with a 6.4. And it's 0-0 in every game other than Arsenal, who are currently 2-0 up against Southampton. So let's come out of that. Carlos thinks we should tell them to do it for the fans once more. Again, Carlos, we are still away from home. So we owe Bournemouth and we are going to get revenge. Revenge is a dish best served away from home. Because it's very disappointing to lose at home. But Cook is in possession. Di Lorenzo. I'm just going to call him Lorenzo. It's so much easier than Di Lorenzo. But they are back in possession. Lerma gives it away to Musa. Musa, nice ball over to David. David can't get it. Alvaro now to Cook. Cook is going to be... No, I thought he was going to get dispossessed by Gaetano, but he gets it to Alvaro. Cook back to Felipe. Felipe tries one across a field. Montiel is cutting it inside, and it's a lovely goal by Montiel. Can't even say that wasn't a solid goal. But I am going to tell the lads to show some passion, and we're going to go attacking. Because we are not going to go down without a fight. So, come on lads, pick it up. We can't be performing like this. Musa plays it across to Palacios, to Dragomir. Oh, Musa through to David. David's holding the ball up for Musa. Musa plays it back to David. David, will he go back to Musa? Musa's got the ball now, and it's Ramsdale. Unfortunately, Musa thought he would pass it into the goal, rather than just smack it into the top corner. But they have a free kick. Hagi on the byline. And thankfully, that went wide. Goal kick, and we appear to be approaching our usual substitution time, folks. And we have a couple of players struggling, so Gaetano, Musa and David are all having rough performances. So is Lorenzo, but we can't afford to really be substituting him. So how are we going to approach this? Selic's condition is completely gone, so Guimarães can come on for him. Mora is also having a rough one in terms of condition, but not the worst of games. So I1 Yeet can come on for Gaetano. What we'll do is we'll do that. We'll bring on an additional guy who can play in that attacking mid role. We shall then, I apologise for the sirens. There is quite a few of them going by at the moment, and I can surely hear them. So I'd assume you fine folks can too, because my microphone is rather sensitive. So, David Musa. I'm kind of tempted to move David out to the wing, to be honest. Let him play on that left-hand side where Musa is. Musa, are you happy to... Not really. You're not the happiest fellow now, are you, Musa? So, Ageria, you go on there for Musa. Musa can come off, and we shall hopefully pull one back with those triple subs. And we've already conceded a second. Lerma. That is unfortunate. And that is really loud. Jesus. I do not appreciate the level of sirens whilst I'm recording. But we are, of course, heading into the end of this game, and it is looking rough. So, show some passion, lads. Show some passion. We are losing, and Fulham is also on the winning end of their game at the moment. So it's 2-0 to Bournemouth, 2-0 to Fulham. I'm not quite sure who Fulham was playing, but it is a good sign, at least from a Fulham perspective. Mora cannot win the ball. Reinwald gets it to Lerma. Lerma to Alvaro. Alvaro holds it up, plays it inside to Cook. Cook to Lerma. Lerma now to Cook to Hagi. Hagi tries one across field to Montel. Guimarães, nice interception. David, can we at least get one constellation goal? David, you do have support in the middle, and you go alone. Greedy. Greedy, my friend. Greedy. This is not the showing we wanted to start the season. But Montel plays it into a nice save by Butland. It is a corner there. Bournemouth with Fraser. Fraser whips one in. It's got away. Mora now coming down this left-hand side. Can Mora do anything with the ball? That is the question. He is fouled by Hagi. Hagi trips him up, and we have 3 minutes to get one goal. Katic hits the crossbar, and it falls to David. David out to Palacios. Palacios whips one in. Dragomir can't get it, and Felipe just hoofs it into the crowd. Guimarães now to Dragomir. Dragomir holds the ball up, plays it to Guimarães. Guimarães, nice ball in. Felipe heads it down. Mora to David. David, can he get us a goal? No. Yikes. It looks like a 2-0 victory for Bournemouth at the moment. Ramsdale plays it short to Cook, back to Ramsdale, up to Felipe. Felipe now plays it to Reinwald. Reinwald holding the ball up, dispossessed by Luka Mora. Luka Mora plays one into I1 Yeet, goes back to Mora. Mora whips one into I1 Yeet. Ah, Ramsdale. Ramsdale with yet another save. Hoofed up though to Frazier. Gaich, and Gaich gets it across to Alvaro. Alvaro holds the ball up, dispossessed by Lorenzo. Lorenzo to Mora. Mora, nice ball across field to David. David plays it back to Katic to David once more. Mora now on this right hand side, plays it to Palacios. Palacios, nice ball over the top to Ageria. Can Ageria do anything with this? Keeps it in, but only for Lerma to play it back to the keeper. Cook now tries one up to Frazier. Frazier coming down this right-hand side for Bournemouth, and it's full time. Bournemouth 2, Hull City 0. 15 shots for Bournemouth, 13 for us. 7 shots on target for Bournemouth to our 5. 5 fouls to our 10, 0 yellow cards to our 4, 58% possession to our 42. Montiel, it was their best performer. He had a 9 rating and 1 goal. Our best performer was Mora with a 7.2 and a 50% crossing completion ratio. Struggling to perform for them was Loda with a 6.7 rating. For us was David. He had a 6.3 and 2 overall chances. Not what we want from our new starman up front. Definitely not putting in a Brewster performance today. That is for sure. So let's get to the dressing room. Tell the team their performance was disappointing. Indeed it was. I'm far from pleased with what I saw from you lads. This is a new season and this is not how we want to start it. Especially when Rhineworld gets one over on Hull. So, De Boer satisfied with win, of course he would be. Selick makes his Hull debut, didn't go according to plan. But that does mean, unfortunately, we start the season on a loss. Now, the question is, when will we be returning? So, we have a game at home to Manchester United and West Brom. We then go away to Tottenham and have a home game against Everton. But we've got that Carabao Cup game here. And I kind of want to show you guys the Carabao Cup. So, Carabao Cup and Huddersfield is probably where we'll return. Maybe. We also have a Euro group game down here. So we'll probably do them two and them two. And possibly that one. I'm not quite sure. To be honest with you, it depends if there are away games or not. If that's not an away game, I'll probably do it like that as Arsenal Norwich. But we'll figure out them ones at a later date. I definitely will probably be doing Huddersfield and the Carabao Cup game though in the next episode. So I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you didn't particularly enjoy the Bournemouth game, but I hope you enjoyed the episode as a whole. I hope you've all had a lovely weekend and I hope you enjoyed the rest of your week. So thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.